Anxiety is often described as a defining condition of modern life. It is associated with constant stimulation, uncertainty, and an overload of information. In contemporary terms, it is frequently linked to attention fragmentation, social pressure, and mental fatigue. However, when examining historical Christian writings, similar descriptions appear long before the modern world. Restlessness of mind, fear of the future, emotional agitation, and difficulty maintaining interior stability are recurring themes. These are not modern discoveries. They are long-standing observations of human psychology and experience. In the pre-modern world, life was often more uncertain in immediate terms. Illness had no reliable treatment in many cases. Political instability and conflict were common in various regions. Food shortages, travel dangers, and social insecurity were frequent realities. Within this environment, Christian thinkers wrote extensively about interior life. They were not analyzing anxiety as a clinical category. They were describing it as part of the lived human condition under stress, uncertainty, and moral struggle. The language used varies, but the phenomena described are consistent across centuries. Augustine of Hippo provides one of the most detailed early accounts of interior unrest. In his writings, particularly in his reflections on the human condition, he describes the mind as divided when it is not ordered toward a single ultimate purpose. This division produces instability. Thoughts move in multiple directions without resolution. Desires compete rather than unify. In this framework, restlessness is not merely emotional discomfort, but a structural condition of the mind. It arises when attention, desire, and will are not aligned. The result is internal agitation. Modern language might describe this as chronic anxiety or cognitive overload. Augustine's solution is framed in terms of reordering the inner life toward a stable foundation rather than multiplying external distractions. The emphasis is structural rather than situational. Earlier Christian monastic writers such as Evagrius Ponticus also analyzed mental disturbance in detail. He described persistent intrusive thoughts as a major source of spiritual and psychological instability. These thoughts were categorized not merely as moral temptations, but as patterns that disrupt attention and clarity. He observed that repeated engagement with such thoughts strengthens their influence over the mind. His approach focused on interruption, awareness, and disciplined attention. This reflects an early understanding of how repetitive mental patterns can dominate perception and emotional state.
Francis de Sales provides a later and more pastoral perspective. He distinguishes between normal emotional difficulty and excessive internal agitation. A key observation in his writings is that emotional disturbance often amplifies itself. When fear or worry is repeatedly examined without resolution, it tends to increase rather than diminish. He therefore emphasizes steadiness of mind, not elimination of emotion but regulation of response. He encourages avoiding excessive analysis of distress in moments of instability. Instead, he promotes a return to stable practices and ordered thought. His approach reflects an understanding of emotional escalation and cognitive spiraling. Teresa of Ávila focuses on interior life and mental order within the context of prayer and contemplation. Her writings describe the difficulty of maintaining focus in the presence of distraction and internal noise. She uses architectural imagery to describe the interior life, emphasizing structure, progression, and depth. In her view, instability of mind is addressed through disciplined return to interior stillness. Not a single effort, but repeated formation. She emphasizes perseverance even when attention is fragmented or inconsistent. This reflects an understanding of mental instability as something requiring long-term formation rather than immediate resolution. Across these writers, several consistent patterns emerge. First, anxiety is associated with fragmentation of attention. Second, emotional disturbance is often intensified by repeated internal engagement. Third, stability is described as a structured discipline rather than a passive state. Fourth, silence, order, and restraint of thought are repeatedly emphasized. Although the terminology differs, the underlying observations are consistent. The focus is not on removing difficulty entirely, but on forming stability within it. Modern environments introduce additional sources of stimulation. Constant communication, rapid information cycles, and digital media create continuous input. This increases the frequency of distraction and fragmentation of attention. However, the internal experiences described in earlier writings remain structurally similar. The difference is intensity and frequency, not nature. The same patterns of restlessness, agitation, and difficulty maintaining focus persist. The writings of Christian thinkers do not treat anxiety as a new phenomenon. They describe it as part of the broader human struggle with interior instability, fear, and divided attention. Across centuries, the proposed response is consistent: discipline of thought, stability of attention, and ordered interior life. Not escape from difficulty, but formation within it. If you found this video useful, consider liking and subscribing for more content on Christian history, theology, and the interior life. If there are other topics you would like explored, leave them in the comments below.